My name is Vishal Singh and I'll be teaching you chess today. So in the previous class, we had continued with checkmating using the rook, and we'll be continuing that today as well. So there are quite a lot of puzzles still remaining, and we'll be completing that today as well. So let's get started with the class. Okay, I'll be sharing my screen now. Okay, here we go. Okay, so I'm pretty sure this is the last puzzle we did in the previous class, and the answer to this was quite simple. I'll give you guys a quick recap. So these are the only places the king has is able to move, right? So let's get rid of the f2 because it cannot jump on its own piece. Let's get rid of g2 and g1 because our queen is laser beaming right over here. So that is not an option, and definitely not h2 either because our rook is occupying the entire h file as its attack range. So these two are the only blocks that are free at the moment. How do we get them under our attack range? Simple. Bring your rook down to h1. The reason the enemy king is not able to capture our rook is the queen is protecting us, protecting our rook. So the entire then first rank and the h file is under our attack range. Not the entire first rank, but till f1 because that is all we need, right, to make it a checkmate. Doesn't matter if the king moves to the left, it would still be under check and would be an illegal move. It cannot go up because of the queen, and definitely not to h2 because the rook is occupying entire h file as its attack range. So that is what made it a checkmate. All right, let's move ahead. Okay, so in this you are again playing as black. You have a rook, a few pawns, and a knight. So make sure you utilize all of them, and that's enough. That's all the information you need. So go ahead, pause the video, and then come back. All right, now let's check what all we can, where the king can move. Okay, the enemy king. So we are playing as black, by the way, remember, and let's get rid of e3, f3 and g3 because you cannot jump on your own piece, right? Let's see where else the enemy king can move around him. So e4 and e5 are not an option. Why? Because your king is occupying e5 as its attack range and your pawn is occupying e4 as its attack range. So they are out of option. Definitely not g5 because your knight is occupying that position. So that is out. Not g4 either because your pawn has control over g4. Not even f5 because again your pawn is having control over f5. So the king cannot move anywhere, but it is not directly under check. Remember, the condition for it to be a checkmate is it should have no escape, no means of escape, and the king also should be directly under check itself. So all we have to do to make this a checkmate is make sure the enemy king itself is under direct check. And how can we do that? Simply play rook to f7 and that makes it a checkmate. Simple. It is directly under check and it cannot move to any other places. Okay, this was simple. So let's move ahead. Okay, so in this one you are playing as white. You have a queen, a rook, a bishop. That is a lot of information already. Go ahead, see what you can do with all these pieces. Pause the video, think about for a minute or two, and then come back. Okay, so let's see all the available places for the enemy king to move. Okay, let's get rid of d5. You cannot move on your own piece. Okay, how about d4? So your queen is occupying that block as well as your rook, so that is out of the option. But we'll be utilizing the rook, right? So it has to move. Let's not consider the rook because this is checkmate using the rook. So let's consider our queen occupying that block. Okay, so this is still not an option for the king. E4 is an option. There is nothing that is commanding that block. None of our pieces are commanding that block. So that is okay. The entire f file is under our control because of the queen. So let's get rid of f4, f5, and f6. Okay. Even d6 is not an option for the enemy king because our bishop has its attack range over there, has its attack range extended over there. So basically, e4 is fine and e6 is fine and f and e5 is fine. Basically, everything within the e file is okay for the king. It's moving ability, so that one block around it, it's fine. So all we need to do is make sure these three blocks are under our control. How can we do that? Simply play rook to even. As I said, the rook will move, so this will no longer be under our rook's control, but the block here, d4 is still under our queen's control, so that is okay. Okay, so the entire e file is under our control, entire f file is under our control, and the block d6 is under our control, and the block d4 is under our control. So none of the available places for the king to move, and it is also directly under check. This makes it a complete checkmate. Got it? Okay, let's move on. This was a little rough. So you are again playing as black in this one. This is actually quite simple. You have a rook, a knight. Look carefully what can be done. Pause the video and then come back. Okay, so answer to this one is quite simple. So there are only three options the enemy king can move to, right? Let's get rid of h2. You cannot jump on your own piece. It cannot go to g2 because your rook is occupying the second rank as its attack range, so that is out of the option. It cannot move to g1 either because your knight is present here, so that's not possible for the enemy king. So we have to make sure the king is directly under attack. That is all we have to do because it does not have any other place to move. But if we take our rook down to a1 to get the to give a direct check to the enemy king, it can then escape to g2, right? That would no longer be under our control because the rook has moved from second rank to the first rank. So nothing in second rank would be under our control from our rook's perspective. So the other option we can do is play rook to h2. Our rook is safe because of the knight. Okay, so our rook cannot get captured. The enemy pawn can only kill diagonally upwards, so it is safe. It is safe from the rook. It cannot move to g2 because of our rook. It cannot move to g1 because of our knight, and it cannot stay here at h1 because of our rook again. So this was again a complete checkmate. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Okay, you are playing as white in this one again. See what all pieces you have got, what can be done using those pieces. So go ahead, pause the video, think for a minute or two, and then come back. Okay, so it cannot, the enemy king cannot definitely jump to b7, that is out of the option. It cannot move to, okay, it cannot move to a7 and c7 because your knight is occupying those blocks. Not occupying, but those are under our knight's attack range. So those are off the options, right? The only place the king can move to is a1 and a8 and c8, and it can also stay at d8. We have to make sure these three blocks are under attack range. What can we do in order to do that? Do you want to use the knight? Definitely no, right? Because as soon as you move the knight, the blocks a7 and c7 will no longer will be under our control. They are currently under our knight's control, but if a knight changes the position, a7 and c7 will no longer be under our knight's control. Okay, that is out of the option. There's a simple solution. Just play rook to h8. By doing so, these were the only three options for the enemy king, for the black king, right? So the entire 8th rank is under our rook's control. We've eliminated all three of the options the king had, and it is also directly under check. So that makes it a complete checkmate. Okay. So that was all for today. I hope you guys enjoyed. You guys had fun, and I'll be back. I'll be back in the next class. So see you guys. Bye bye.